Trinidad is an amazing place. Now, obviously, the architecture has to catch up to the culture. The architecture is still very much buried and binded within the old traditional vernacular architecture. What if we could actually create cultural motifs and ornamentation from Caribbean symbols? The Caribbean symbol system specific to Trinidad, with the main Caribbean symbol being the pan, the steel pan. Fusing that, not only the actual look of the steel pan, but the sound that it generates organically. Remember, it's not an electronic instrument. It makes the sound that it makes naturally. So that means that the way that it's built produces that sound. We could take that same phenomenology and place that into the facade of a building. And that's how you create architecture that is more relative and that is more specific to that particular culture. Now, what we want to do is have this cultural aesthetic be rich within the Trinidadian culture. And then we want to pair that with stories. I think that architecture in its greatest form is architecture that has a backstory, not only to the actual structure itself, but to the culture that the architecture holds. As a designer, I typically see architecture almost like a sponge of culture. When you go to Paris and you go to Rome and you go to Greece, within the architecture, within all the ornamentation, what you're seeing is essentially history being held or upheld inside of a building. Now, in the Caribbean, we don't have that. In Trinidad, we don't have that. In Barbados, we don't have that. You can see it more in a vernacular way, but it hasn't been authored or designed, which is why I've taken it upon myself to really start to really put together a Caribbean symbol system that artists, not just architects or designers or builders, can pull from and begin to create. So essentially using the culture itself to produce art, architecture, and built works back to the culture. So, Trini Massive, let me know how you feel about this in the comments. I'm super excited about where this idea is going and how we can actually create real life structures and art that will be more relative to the culture of Trinidad and Tobago.